Solomon from Little Rock, Arkansas asked, what do you think is the best way to balance the transfer portal and recruiting in today's college football? Some teams are going all in on one or the other, while others are doing a more mixed approach. Is there a way that you think is best? So Solomon did not do it this way, but a lot of people have really strong, definitive takes on this. And I think it's too new. I think this stuff is so new that even guys who had a very, very established way of doing it as recently as last year have probably overhauled like 30% of that. I know some of them have expressed that. And then others, you can just observe it, and you can see that, hey, man, they're second-guessing some things. That's totally normal. It's new. Foreign territory. So everyone's figuring it out at the same time. That's the good news. The good news is they didn't try this out in one conference for a decade, and then all of a sudden it gets introduced in your conference. It got dropped in everyone's lap. So everyone's trying to figure it out. Now, you got some very notable examples right now. Dave Aranda at Baylor's one of them. Aranda, as recently as 2 years ago, is the talk of college football, and he wins the Big 12 championship, and he's got his name at the forefront of every premier coaching list in college football, and then all of a sudden, they fall off a cliff. We did program rankings the other night. We don't even have them top 10 in the Big 12 right now. And he's making staff moves out there, but what Aranda is brutally honest about himself, and he has admitted publicly, I just didn't take transfer portal serious. And I was wrong. I mean, that's not the way to do it. And it's not that we're ever going to build through the portal, but we erred in judgment initially, and now we're trying to rectify that. Now, if that was Kirby Smart at Georgia, you can fix that really quick. It's harder to have quick fixes at places like Baylor. So a few beliefs that I've sort of gathered on this thing. None of these are written in Sharpie. They're all written in pencil. But I think if you live in the portal, you'll eventually die. But I think if you try and ignore the portal completely, you'll also either die or you'll starve your program and deny its ability to reach its full potential. I think you got to be sure to define the same critical factors and characteristics in the portal as you do recruiting high school kids. Because what makes no sense in the world is if you've got 13 critical factors that you need checked before you offer a defensive back out of high school, but you got one who's playing for Arizona State right now, or you got one transferring from Cal right now. They only check 5 of them, but you just offer him anyway. That makes no sense. And especially if you're cutting corners on what you expect in terms of character, the neck up traits, in exchange for, just feeling like you fortified your locker room, just writing a name on the grease board. That is a shortcut to very, very detrimental outcomes internally. And a lot of teams experienced that last year. I don't think I need to explain to you, because I think you can see it play out on the field in the fall, who experienced that. Also, this is where I'm hopeful, I think this is all a window. I don't think this is just the way it's going to be. I think maybe 3 years down the road, maybe 7 years down the road, we will all, coaches and fans alike, look back on this period and say, can you believe what this sport was for a few years? And then 20 years from now, it'll be documentary material that for a little while, it's like the new Coke era of college football. Google it if you don't know what that is. All of a sudden, the greatest sport in the world decided to change everything about itself. And we had to live with it for a few years. Just like the folks at Coca-Cola had the highest selling soft drink in the entire universe and said, you know what we need to do? Change it. We need to change it. Who wants Coke anymore? Well, it turned out a lot of people did. College football. College football wasn't perfect, but it had things pretty well figured out for a long time. And then all of a sudden, the wrong people got their hands on the wheel, and things got really crooked. And we're speaking in 2030 at this point in this scenario. We get to look back on it at that point, 2040, 2050, and say, can you believe there was this 5 or 6 or 7 year window where there were no rules and everyone just did whatever they wanted to do? So hold on. Classic Wilson Phillips protocol here. Just hold on for one more day or one more year or a few more years. It hasn't changed, though. It both has and hasn't changed, because it's completely changed how a new staff approaches walking in the door. Mike Elko at Texas A&M, Fran Brown at Syracuse, perfect examples of how that can impact what you're able to do. Mike Norvell's done it at Florida State. So when you're new on the job, it used to be you may have to burn the entire thing down and start from scratch, and you got to have 3 years minimum patience. And now you can just fortify through the portal and let's supplement while we try and get our recruiting infrastructure in place. But as much as it's changed how a new staff can immediately go about their job, it has not changed how that same staff ultimately wants to build. That same staff, if they have any clue what they're doing, still wants to build through high school recruiting. Because the thing you want to do is you want to define who you are, and then you want to go find kids that fit who you are and get 3 or 4 years with them, because you cannot engineer a kid through a microwave in 2 or 3 weeks to be what you want them to be. That's why culture is still a buzzword, because it's a real thing. It matters. You don't get to microwave. It's illegal to microwave a kid, literally, and it's still a bad idea to do it figuratively. It's just not the way it works. So, yeah, they can be cherries on top. They better not be the cupcake. You better still build the cupcake through high school ingredients, and then you can put those transfer sprinkles on top if you want to. A transfer cupcake. Portal cupcakes.